Okay, good. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Katherine Sharon Zoom baking series. We are busily getting ready for Pesach. Whisper it. It's less than 2 weeks away, and who better than Terry Azose, head of the Sephardic Digital Ladies Auxiliary, to take us through making Megina. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you. I am excited to be doing this because I actually haven't made one for many years. But now that things are, kind of, we've been home a lot, I've been trying a lot more recipes and eating a lot more. And so Passover coming, it's an opportunity to pick up old recipes and make them new again. So a Megina actually traces back to Spain. And it's transformed over the years to, to represent the different flavors and the ingredients and spices that reflect the travel of the Sephardic Jews throughout the Ottoman Empire and beyond, to South America, South Africa, Europe, and the United States. Well, there's so many different kinds of Meginas. There's lamb and there's beef, there's chicken, anything you can imagine or design, and is, all mixed together with, eggs and matzah for Passover. But, some call it Megina, some will call it a mina or even a kwajadu. But basically, it's all the same, except that a Megina or mina is a layered, more like a lasagna. And so today we're going to be doing a Megina that is all mixed together. And growing up in an Ashkenazi home, we would have called it a kugel. But my husband thinks it's more like a quiche. I'm not quite so convinced with that. So there's lots and lots of combinations. There's, leek, spinach, and cheese, or there's artichoke, spinach, and feta, or there's roasted eggplant, meat, pine nuts. You could have mashed potatoes, hamburger. It makes a really nice weeknight meal during Passover, and with a little green salad or a shredded cabbage salad. And so it's just a very versatile dish that you can make your own. And I encourage it because the original recipe that I'm going to be showing today, I received 50 years ago from my Aunt Jackie of blessed memory. And I think she got it from probably her sister-in-law, Ray Varon, of blessed memory. And we really cooked very simply at that time. Everything was kind of bland. I hate to say it, but it was. And that was just because we didn't have the opportunity of the ingredients that are available today, and didn't use a lot of spice. And so things were just much simpler. So today, we're going to make a basic one, but I encourage you to use your creativity and put things together. Like, you can put in cumin, or you could put in red pepper, or tomato, or green pepper, red pepper, cinnamon, garlic, whatever floats your taste. And after we put this together today, I'm going to show you a really quick, delicious almond cake that has 4 ingredients, and it's a nice accompaniment to a meat Megina. It's all dairy-free, gluten-free, and just very light. So let's get cooking. First thing I'm going to do is turn up my burner here, and I'm going to start with chopping up onions. Now, I've chopped a bunch of them, but it's nice to, I guess I don't really need to show you how to chop up onions. Everybody really can do it. Shifting positions here.
Got to get a better view of your onion chopping skills.
I don't have knife skills, I must say, but it really doesn't matter with this because we're just going to cook this down. Okay. And of course, I am the queen of unsharp knives. And, my kids always say you're going to kill yourself, but, nah, not really. So let's get this into the pan. So this is 1 whole onion. Now we're going to get that sauteing and cooking here a little bit. Turn up my... And then we're going to throw in, sorry, I left my recipe on the other side. Okay, and then we're going to throw in half a cup of chopped celery. So now I haven't measured it exactly, but I'm eyeballing it. because anything goes. You can put in more, you can put in less. I'll put a little bit more. Okay. And we're gonna get this going good. Nothing better than the smell of onions cooking, I think. So I would be curious if anybody wanted, well, while this is cooking down a little bit, if anybody does it differently.
I think so far everyone does the onion.
Well, I mean, what do you add to yours? Onion and celery. I guess you could add, you know, some green pepper would probably be really good in here too. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do
I know
is
that the Condiatis have a great menu for a great recipe for this, but I don't know if they're going to share what they do. We have to ask Steve if they're going to unmute and tell us what they do.
Oh. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in the hamburger, and the recipe is 2 pounds. I did try making this with ground turkey, and I will tell you, the basic recipe is too bland to just do it with turkey. So unless you can spice it up and with some really good flavors, I wouldn't recommend it.
Presumably you could do ground lamb as well.
Yes, lamb.
Sharon Babani uses spinach in hers to give it a bit more flavor.
I know. I'm anxious to try that too.
And also Annette says you can mix. My mom does this too. You can mix the beef and the turkey if you want to have a little bit slightly healthy. You can mix the ground beef and the ground turkey together.
So while I've been living in the apartment, I've been cooking on an electric stove, and here I'm cooking on a gas stove. And it's funny how you forget how quickly or slowly one works versus the other. And so bear with me. Did I put oil in the pan? You know, the hamburger, this kosher hamburger is 85% lean, 15% fat. So I think there's probably plenty of oil in this. Now, the pan that is going to go into the oven to bake this will have oil in it, and we heat the oil to a high temperature. Turn on the oven to 400. And actually, I think I'll put that in right now. This has about 1/4 cup of oil in it, and we're going to heat it up, and then I'm going to pour it off a little bit before I pour the hot mixture into this.
Terry, some people say they put dill and parsley also into that mixture to get some flavor.
Yeah, I'm going to add parsley to it as soon as I get this all kind of cooked down. But dill would be delicious too. I actually think maybe even a little cinnamon might be, you know, give it a little more depth, too, if you like that flavoring.
Well, I haven't tried that before. Cinnamon with savory? Interesting.
Yeah. It just gives it not a lot. I mean, you have to use.
Do you put in tomato sauce or marinara?
No, this recipe doesn't call for it. But I mean, I personally think that, you know, some nice tomatoes, even if you roasted your tomatoes and then put it in, I think that'd be delicious.
Yeah, Sharon Adado says she puts in marinara. So I could see marinara in this, or chopped tomatoes would go very nicely.
Yes. But as I said, I'm doing the basic because that's the recipe that was passed down from, you know,
And who did you get the recipe from? Did you get it from your mother-in-law, Gracie?
No,
or-
no, I got, no.
Let's see, here's the recipe. Whose writing is this?
The recipe is my Aunt Jackie Barron, and which I got 50 years ago. And she got it from her sister-in-law, Ray Barron. Both of them have passed since. And so this recipe obviously is a really old recipe. And I think the secret is making sure you get a lot of salt and pepper and onion flavoring in there. So the one
Isaac
thing that
and Susan on here, if you're not doing it right, Isaac and Susan will tell us.
I'm sure they will.
And
So one of the things
Steve from the audience messaged us that he puts in green onions into his to add a little bit more flavor, and he adds even more onions. He says the trick is to add onions.
Okay, so I've added one large onion, and I haven't told you yet, but I'm going to add, I did caramelize an onion. This is what it cooked down to. And I'm going to add that to this also to give it a little bit more flavor. That is not in the recipe, but I just think that I like to give it a little bit more depth. So you want to continue to cook this until until all of the pink is gone. Okay. Still a little bit of pink, but I think we're going to be okay. I'm going to turn this off because I want to let it cool just a little bit. And if you can see, there's plenty of liquid in here. You see that? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So the liquid I think is good. It'll add flavor. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to soak some matzo. It calls for 8, I think it's 7 sheets of matzo or 8 sheets of matzo, whatever you want to use. So as I said, a mina is more, you put the matzo on the bottom and you layer it like a lasagna. But Megina, my recipe shows that it's all mixed in to the meat mixture. So that's the way I'm going to do it today. So some matzo.
Is that water?
That's water.
Would you soak it in something better than water?
Well, one of the recipes I saw soaked it in chicken stock, but like I said, I'm going with the basics. So I'm going to soak that for a little bit, and while that's soaking,
what's your favorite matzah?
Well, Dave likes Manischewitz. I like Yehuda.
It's very Zionist of you. I like that.
What can we say? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my pepper, which is half a teaspoon. And I'm going to put in salt, which it says 1 teaspoon, but I think it needs a little bit more, although we'll just make it, it's going to have lots of eggs and stuff, so it needs a lot of flavor. Now, the parsley I'm going to add now, and I want to just reassure you that I learned a good lesson when I was cooking in the kitchen at the synagogue about how you have to make sure that your parsley is very clean. And Rabbi, just so you know, I did it the right way, and everything was checked out fine.
Perfect.
So one of the lessons that I learned, and it doesn't have to be chopped up too fine, but just so that you keep bringing the screen to the back behind me.
Well, I can't see. I want to see what you're doing.
Okay. Throw that in there.
Sarah, you're doing a great job as the camera person.
It's my new career. I'm hiring.
Well, she wanted to donate her time to give the COVID vaccinations, but Children's won't let her under her insurance, so she can't do that. So she has to be the camera person for me today. Okay, next step is we're going to mix 8 eggs. Mix them up. Okay. That should be good. And I'm going to get the soaked matzah. You can stay right here. I'll bring it over.
Stay with the eggs. Stay with the eggs. How many eggs? 8 eggs, right? Is that what you said?
8 eggs. Okay. I'm bringing over the matzah. Now, the recipe calls for squeezing out the matzah. I don't squeeze it too much because I think that the little bit extra moisture, it bakes out. And then I just crumble it up. This is the most fun part. Making this. Oh.
So Terry, just because people are asking, the difference between, again, this mina and Megina is the mina is more like a lasagna, and this Megina, you're mashing it all up in part
That's
of the...
it. I'm mixing it all together. And I don't know why, I mean, every recipe I've seen for a mina is more layered. So anyway, we're getting all that in there. My hands were clean, I promise. Now, I've seen recipes also where you use matzo farfel instead. So you could do that if you wanted to, but this is more fun. No, this is not gluten-free matzah. I wouldn't, I would imagine you could. I actually, my daughter-in-law is gluten-free, so I do buy gluten-free matzah also. So she won't be eating this. Okay. Now, I may not have soaked this matzah long enough, but it's good enough. I always say if you're hungry enough, you'll eat anything, or just about anything. Okay, I'm going to leave this last piece. I think it looks okay. And mix this together. Okay. And then the last part of this is I'm going to put the meat mixture right into this. Grab a dish towel.
Let me ask, how many sheets of matzah?
The recipe calls for 7 or 8 sheets of matzah, and I think I put 6 in here so far.
And Terry, how many, is this for an army? How many people is this serving?
This will make a 9 by 13.
So it's a nice dinner for 6 people, dinner for 8?
6 or 8, I think it's 8. You know, or if you have kids, less, or if you have big kids, more, you know. And then you just mix it together. Couldn't be, I mean, it's very, 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 very fast. The longest part is just chopping everything up.
Now he says it's delicious.
Did I drop some?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. And there we go.
So the matzah here is really more of a binding agent than anything else.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, you know, I think about this as almost like a meatloaf, you know, could be, you could, whatever you put in a meatloaf, you might be able to put in here. And just as an FYI, when I make a meatloaf at home, I use Rice Krispies in my, as my binder, because then it's gluten-free. So anyway, so now I'm going to take out of the oven, I'm going to take the pan out, and I'm going to empty this into it, and then we're going to put it in the oven and bake it. So follow me over to the oven.
Children in the house.
Now, this is, I'm going to put this in here, so it's okay. This oil is very hot. And the recipe says to pour off a little bit. Don't need quite so much. So I'm going to pour off about half of it. Okay. And I'm going to put it down here.
Impressions.
We're going to empty this into, and here it sizzle. Okay.
It is sizzling. It is sizzling. That is full.
That is full, but you know, it's of course a little bit extra on the counter here. And there you have it. And now I'm going to put it back in the oven and cook it at 400 degrees for 30 minutes. Okay.
Really has a feel of a meat cuajado.
Exactly. It's like a meat cuajada. I don't think it's the most attractive looking thing, but you know, you can always doctor it up with, you know, if you put a little bit of marinara sauce over the top of it, or if you, you know, put something else on, you know, on top of it after you take it out of the oven, you know, some, as you'll see, some parsley or something like that. It looks nice. And it feeds it a lot. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do while that's kind of making its way in the oven, we're going to make this very easy almond cake. And oops, sorry. So as simple as can be, we're going to mix 4 eggs, egg yolks.
The yolks.
Just the yolks. And we're going to put in a half a cup of sugar into that and mix it.
Do you do this in a mixer or just by hand?
No, I'm just doing this by hand. And you just want to make sure you mix it until everything's kind of dissolved. Very simple. See, nice and yellow, and just mix, 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 mix. And then I put in, did I lose it? Half a teaspoon, I'm putting in half a teaspoon of almond extract. The nice thing about this is you can put in orange zest, you can put in lemon zest, you can put any flavoring you know you want. You put coconut in it, put just about anything. And so I'm putting about half a teaspoon of almond extract into it, mixing that up, adding. Now I'm using almond flour. So this is 1.5 cups of almond flour.
Is that just ground almonds?
It's just ground almonds. I happen to buy Red Mill almond flour. Mix that up.
It smells so good.
So it's kind of a really thick dough. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then what I've done is the egg whites I already beat up because I had time. And I'm going to put about 1/4 of them in to start.
How many egg whites?
Well, it's 4 egg whites because I use, I'm getting questions from my daughter. How many egg whites? The recipe will make that available. I'm using 4 egg whites because I use 4 yolks. So I'm just trying to lighten this up a little bit. You know, the whole thing is when you mix in eggs, egg whites, you want to make sure that you leave things fluffy, but get it kind of mixed in a little bit. Okay, put some more in. And I'm going to switch to a spatula for this. And use, you know, the technique of folding. You can see that that's lightening up already. The whole thing is to get everything incorporated but not over mix. Now, in my day, it was making a sponge cake. I mean, everybody was always compared how fluffy their sponge cakes were, how big they got, or how small they, or how they didn't expand. And the trick is all in the egg yolks or egg white. I'm gonna get the rest of it out. So, but I like this recipe because it is so flexible with what you can add for flavoring. I think it would be good if you could somehow add a coffee extract or something like that too. Might be delicious. And just stuff it up like that. Mix it in nice and good. Okay, looks like it's pretty well blended. And now I have to find where I put my cake pan, right here. And this is just a round, they say you use a springform pan or you don't have to. I happen to have gotten these very unique round cake pans where the bottom comes out. So all I did was I put a little parchment paper in there. And I just fold this in. Like that. And smooth it out. It'll level itself as it cooks. And that's it. And now we're going to put it in the oven, and we'll have some magic by TV.
Is that one also 400 degrees?
This one is at 350 for 30 minutes also. So we'll stick it in the oven. And okay, now by the magic of TV, or Zoom or whatever, I'm in the old school, I have for you I made this one a Megina, but I layered it. And
wait a minute, someone's already eaten that.
I know, because it's right here.
There you go.
And your lovely dessert. I'll show you the cake, how it comes out. I didn't put I forgot to put the almonds on top of the cake, but I will do that. A quarter cup of almonds on the top of the cake before you bake it. I'm sorry. But this is what the cake looks like. And it's delicious. And there you go. So any questions?
I'm just getting through the comments.
Oh, comments. I hope we didn't make you too dizzy with moving the camera around a lot.
What did you put on top of the Megina?
The Megina, this particular one, it was, I put, matzah on top. I did put matzah inside too, but I put matzah on top. And I put just some egg on the top, just to make it stick.
It looks very good. I've got thumbs up from Steve Condiati. He says a fantastic job. If Steve says it's good, that's a thumbs up all around.
Well, come on over for lunch because we have a lot.
The questions, can you freeze it?
I would think you could.
So is this something you could make and freeze it and take it out for Pesach? It'd be good.
Well, that's what my intent is, although I don't know if I have room in the freezer. But yes, I think you definitely could.
The grandkids are probably going to eat it before you make it to the freezer.
That's true. So yes, I think you could put it in the freezer and take it out, and I put it back in the oven to heat it up and crisp it up a little bit.
Okay, friends, any comments? Anything people want to share? Feel free to unmute. I think this is a wonderful session. Thank you, Terry. I feel like we've got some great ideas on what to make for Pesach now, during the week, during Chol HaMoed, for those medianos, and really well done.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, everybody, and have Pesach Alegre.
Hola todos, for everyone.